long before that, we have a morning packed of activities and wonderful chefs who are coming from near and far to tell us about what they're doing in their restaurants. And before I tell you about this morning's session, as you sat down, you saw printed evaluations, which you can fill out. And there's also an electronic survey in the app if you prefer to fill out your thoughts about the conference electronically. By completing your evaluations, you are entered to win a chance. For free registration for next year's Worlds of Flavor. You don't want to miss that. There are also luggage tags on your seats. Hang on to those until the beginning of the next session when all will be revealed. And now I am very pleased to take you all on a journey to Central and South America. We're going to Brazil, we're going to the Galapagos, we're going to Panama, and we're going to see all of the wonderful and very unique things that are taking place there. And to take us on this session and to also present about his home country, it's my pleasure to welcome Chef Almir Da Fonseca, who is a professor of culinary arts here at CIA Greystone, has been with us for a number of years and came here from Brazil where he had an extensive career. He's one of the foremost presenters on Brazilian foods, and he's actually heading there very soon to be talking about what's going on a global level. So, Chef Almir Fonseca. Sorry. Almir Da Fonseca.
It's been butchered worse for many years. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so glad that you all join us today. It's a great session. You know, Chef Norman and Chef Adolfo have great things to say. And I'm going to present my home country food. And Brazilian cuisine is very complex. There's a lot of different influences. There's a reason why people like myself that have been researching Brazilian cookery for so many years, we actually call Brazilian cuisines or the cuisines of Brazil because so many influences. But the three most important ones that originated the food itself is the indigenous cuisine, the Portuguese or European in this case, and then the African. And so that's what we're going to present today. So the dish that we're going to present today, it ties the whole country together in a plate, which is carne seca, beans, and manioc. Manioc, you heard the word throughout the conferences. You heard yuca and cassava. Manioc is the same thing. Of course, there are many strains, but it's basically the same root. This one over here comes from the Amazon region. This is actually called manioc d'água or mandioca d'água. And the reason is because they ferment this yucca root in burlap sacks on the side of the river. And then once they toast with a little bit of a spice that we call colorau. Colorau is the most important spice in Brazilian cookery, which is actually a narrow seed, manioc starch, and a pepperberry, a peppercorn. So that's what we're going to do. And then carne seca. Right here I have a grass-fed beef, 100% grass-fed beef. This is on a natural form, just aged about 12 days. This has been brined in salt, rinsed, and then aged for 28 days. So you can see the difference over here. But this is very, very important for the Brazilian cookery. And of course, beans. So that's how we're going to start, okay? So I'm going to get this fryer over here, and I'm just going to simply cut a little bit of a portion. I'm going to just do a simple plate, and we're going to season with a little salt and pepper. And again, keep in mind, I just told you that this was salt brined, but that is rinsed. So what happened is it helped withdraw the moisture of the meat. So once the water evaporates, the blood coagulates, so the flavors concentrate and get even better. So this is what we're going to do, okay? So right here, I'm going to use a little bit olive oil. And to flavor this, I'm going to use a little bit of rendered fat. This is the fat from this beef that I brought to a boil and then simmer for several hours. Becomes a clarified beef fat. So you have a tremendous flavor, and we use a lot for cooking, okay? So here we go. going to see this. And then I'm going to, once this is getting a little bit color, I'm going to move to the batter. I'm going to baste just a little bit. Once it gets a little bit color, I'm just going to kind of wash the meat a little bit as I go along. So let's do this thing over here. And then the bean element on this dish is going to come in two forms. This is a bean that we call manteiguinha, or butter beans in Brazil. And one thing that is a huge influence in Brazilian cookery is nuts in the cookery. So right here, what the indigenous always do, they make cream made out of nuts. This over here is cashew nut cream. So it's basically 1 part cashew nuts and 2 parts water that you bring to a boil and you simmer until it's tender, and then you make it into really a smooth paste. And here is the bean that is cooked with just murpla vegetables right here, just so you can see. And then it's puree nice and smooth. And this is the same bean, and it's pickled with a little bit of vinegar. So that's basically what I'm going to do, okay? So right here, I'm going to put a little bit of this bean and a little bit of this cashew puree. Just going to heat it up a little bit. Going to season with salt and pepper and a tiny bit olive oil, and it should be ready. There we go. This is just so I have my cashew nut and my bean puree. So you can see silky smooth, really, really nice. And I'm going to leave right here, okay? I'm going to bring my beef back over here. And I'm going to so you can see they have a nice color. And again, this meat, because the water has been withdrawn, you got all the concentrated flavors over there. So we're going to be serving this pretty much, on the rare end, okay? So now we're going to go into our manioc. Manioc going to be right here. Going to be a little bit of the rendered clarified beef fat. And I'm going to toast this manioc over here just a little bit, okay? This manioc going to be seasoned with something that we call tempero verde, or green herbs mixture, which is cilantro, culantro, and parsley, and green onions, okay? So here we have. There we go. And here's how the herbs ready to go. Once this starts to toasting, I'm going to season with a little bit this colorau. And you're going to see that the color is going to change a little bit. And if you were really close to the stove over here, you'll see that there is a little bit of that annatto aroma that once the seeds start to burn, start to get nice and tender and sweet, okay? If I was in the central part of Brazil, close to the northeast, in Bahia, for example, this would be perhaps dendê oil or red palm oil, okay? So here is my beef. And then I'm going to take 2 of the chilies that is very important to Brazilian cookery. Perhaps you heard the word malagueta pepper before when you're talking about Brazilian cuisine, but actually there are many other chilies that is even more important. This is one, it's called bode. This is another one called cumari peppers. They both grow all over the country, especially in the northern region, which is a little bit warmer, okay? And this is some pearl onions that are actually confit in this fat over here, okay? So here is just so I warm it up a little bit. Now I'm going to let it rest. Then we're going to make a very quick little dressing here. This is the fourth ingredient important for Brazilian cookery, which is cachaça, which is a sugarcane spirit. And our family's been making this all along. So here is just a little dress. You notice that the fire is off. It's just to wilten this dress a little bit. This is called molho campanha, which is a little bit tomato, some peppers, then is the glaze, a little bit red wine vinegar. Brazilian cookery needs an element of spice that is very important. And I put a little bit of demi-glace over here just so I can retrieve a little bit of a sauce, okay? This is a triple reduced demi. So I just kind of basically gonna melt this. And I'm ready to go. So here I have my molho campanha, I have my beans, and I have my manioc, and I have my beef, okay? My pickled beans right here. So let's get this plate together. This is your cashew nut and bean puree. My pickled bean salad. And then the last thing is just the cashew nut that is toasted. That will be microplaned right above the dish. And that is pretty much Brazil on a plate, folks. Thank you very much. I have the pleasure now to introduce a chef that I actually had a chance to not only met this week, but had a chance to present it yesterday with him. His name is Brandt. Norm, come on in. He's from Ecuador. We all know that Ecuador is, have a little setback later. We're glad that his family is okay, but it's still a lot of sadness over there. But we're so happy that you made a chance and made a point to come over and visit us. He's going to be talking a little bit about Ecuadorian ceviche. He's executive chef at the Picaya Lodge in Galapagos Island. Norman, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chef Almir. And thank you very much for all of you to coming here. Thanks on the words, of course. Ecuador is going through a very difficult time right now. But, okay, let's focus a little bit on the conference today. I was thinking all over about it when I was coming from the hotel here this morning. Influences, such a big word, and well, influences from South America. There has been so many influences from different countries, from Spain, from even our neighbor countries, Europe in general, North America, that it's really difficult to put this in 12 minutes, all right? So I'm going to try to be as simple as possible, and if I lose track of this or sense in any moment, please just try to catch up, because there's a lot of information that I would like to share with you, and it's difficult in this amount of time. So first, I want to talk about Ecuador in an early stage. Even before the Inca Empire, before the Tahuantinsuyo, we were very small tribes that only gathered and foraged whatever they had, or fish whatever they can, and they eat of whatever they had that day, right? And then all of a sudden, there comes this organized empire, which is the Inca Empire, and installs a new way of cooking, new ingredients and new stuff. So that changes a whole lot of perspective in what locals were used to eat, right? After that comes the Spanish colonization, and then introduces a lot of new ingredients, twice as much as the first time, and of course new other completely different techniques, and so this is how dish or national dishes develop usually, right? Like the first concept, and then a new one comes, and then another one is imposed, and then another one is chosen. Because why would I say chosen? Because after the colonization, we have this stage in Ecuadorian history, which we called the Republic, all right? When we were already freed and we chose what we wanted to do, right? But we already had our roots, and then our first influence, and then our second influence, so we're already used to that. So we're going to work with that. And we chose to adopt those dishes as our national dishes. And now we're facing a time of so many, like sharing and stuff, that we're trying to put as many things together in a dish, right? So what do I believe about kitchen and how I have been developing the cuisine in Picaya Lodge, Galapagos? Well, I'm a very young chef, and I really believe that we should all know our ancestors well, how they used to work with the produce, and how they managed to avoid, I don't know, sickness or everything, right? So as I am in an early stage of my career, I decided I should first try to cook only traditional and use local ingredients that will help me to understand how my cuisine has developed. I don't know if you can catch up with me on that aspect. After that, I'm going to try to investigate how the Incas influenced our cuisine, and how flavors evolved in a certain way. So my dish, the fish ceviche, it's a very simple one, and it's going to express very early stages of the Ecuador traditional cuisine. All right. So there are some ingredients you already have here, and they are not just as the ones we have in Ecuador, but they're really similar, all right? So, for example, we have this cilantro leaf over here. Let me just, show it in the camera. There it is. So this is a very big cilantro leaf. It's very tasty. It gives a lot of flavor to the preparation. In Ecuador, we have a very thin leaf that provides much more flavor, because it's much more concentrated than in a big leaf. Nutrients are very like centered. I really love to chop this just when I'm going to use them, so it keeps really green and really juicy, right? It's not getting dehydrated by the environment or whatever. Okay. Yeah, keep it fresh. Keep it fresh. That's the idea. So, well, different chefs have different way to do it. For example, many places just leave them like that, just as a chiffonade. I really like to chop it really thin, because I believe it gives more flavor to the preparation, which is what I want, right? To give a final preparation the amount of flavor as possible. So there you go. Cool. Okay, so after this, we have this purple onion, which we call it cebolla paiteña in Spanish, and I don't know why it's called cebolla paiteña, but this purple onion is traditional from Latin America. We use it a lot for many of these ones. We use it a lot for many of our preparations, and lime juice. This is something interesting. You see 3 yellow things over here, and you said like, okay, what's this? Okay, this is what we call chifle. Okay, in the recipe you're gonna see something that says chifle powder, and a lot of people that managed to try this recipe on the first marketplace ask me a lot, what is chifle powder? Okay, I just wanted to say this round thing, this chip is called chifle. All right. So what's this? This is the green plantain, thinly sliced and then deep fried, so it's really crunchy. Okay, there you go. So this is, if you go to the streets or whatever, this is how you're going to find chifle, right? But then again, there are influences that makes us want to present our dish differently or better. So then, for example, this type of chifle became the trend, and afterwards, after that, this one is what became the trend. Right now, I love to work with powder, all right? Because in a mouthful, you can get all the texture that you want about the chifle, which is what provides, right? So I've made it like this, which is actually this same process, but after that, it's all set in the cooker, all right? So the whole idea here is to cure the fish, right? So our fish here is totally raw. It's cut in very small, in dices. I don't know where to focus it. There you go.
It'll be there.
Okay. So in dices, and the way indigenous people used to cure this produce in order not to rotten was with acid juices, all right? Afterwards, they understood that acid juices were also changing the texture of the fish, so they would have to add other things in order to preserve the texture, right? So right now, I'm going to add the juice, the lime juice, just as they did before, and I'm also adding a little bit of sugar. Why sugar? Well, sugar somehow helps the fish conserve its tenderness. Lime juice is going to cook it because of the level of acidity. And, well, I hope you don't mind. I prefer using my hands. That way I can actually feel how much I'm actually putting. So that's it. I'm using two different spices here, salt and sugar. Salt to give a little bit more flavor, sugar to keep its original texture, and lime, which is going to give us the acid flavor that we like, right? So the fish normally has to rest there for about 10 or 20 minutes, so it has all the flavors, all the sweet and acid flavor of the lime juice. So we have here an already pre-marinated preparation, which is almost ready. All right, I'm gonna move this ceviche to this bigger bowl because this is pure lime juice, and it's really concentrated. It's really strong for the palate, so we want to dilute it a little bit. Maybe this time I'm just gonna do it with water, as the traditional way states. A lot of people I've seen that have a flour infusion or even vegetables stock. So that would give you different flavors, even color, right? Because imagine pink water here that it's going to turn all your ceviche pink. Looks nice, looks really cool. So let's just pass here without that much lime juice. There you go. And after that, I'm gonna add a little bit of water. A little bit of onion, and some of the recently chopped cilantro, all right? So there you go. You have a very colorful preparation that, well, I believe it presents itself. Of course, there are many ways of presenting ceviche, and it's according to the influences you want to take into account. Just to picture this, nowadays, Ecuador is very influenced from European cuisine, but let's take Peru. Peru is a very international, recognized culinary country, if that's the way to say it. And what are their influences? They've used a lot of indigenous cuisine, but mixed it all together with Chinese or Asian influences, right? So they have their own flavors, like the Nikkei food and everything, and it's just lovely. They found a very, very good way to combine both worlds and make a really good presentation. So before adopting any of these influences, I just want to make sure I have my own basis really established so I can start working on all that. So just to finish the dish, I just wanted to put this here. For example, I'm going to probably overuse the chifle, right? And definitely adding some of the fish here. There you go. So this is a very traditional Ecuadorian ceviche.
There's the chifle powder.
With the chifle powder. And if I would like to catalog the Ecuadorian ceviche, well, it's a cold soup. It should be served as the same temperature as the well-known gazpacho. And it's traditionally eaten during breakfast or lunch.
Very nice. Thank you, Chef.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, now we have Chef Adolfo Garcia over here from New Orleans, you know, graduate, CIA grad in 88, right, Chef?
88, yep.
And several restaurants in New Orleans. You're going to do something that is actually combined with our cultures very well, like, you know, coconut and Caribbean influence and seafoods. And in Brazil, we have the moqueca. And in New Orleans, Chef has been presenting this one that have a little bit of Afro-Caribbean influence. Chef, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As Chef said, I am originally from New Orleans. I'm of Panamanian descent. Both my parents are from Panama. So, you know, I look there a lot for a lot of the influences of what I cook. Today, we're going to do a dish that is kind of a slang of a English expression. It's called a rondon, R-O-N-D-O-N, which, you know, there's different stories about the origin of it, but some people say it's like run down and get me this and run down and get me that, and then we're going to make a soup. So this is the rondon soup. Run down to and get me. So really, this soup, it's whatever you have, you know, and typically it's made on the coast. It'll be made they can make it in Nicaragua, they can make it in Costa Rica, in Panama, in Colombia, and Venezuela. And as Chef said earlier, very similar to the moqueca in Brazil. Its strong African influence is irrefutable, and then it brings in all the flavors of the Caribbean. You know, we have so many influences in Latin America because of so many people were there. You know, and in some of the populations kind of migrated towards or stayed in the Caribbean. They didn't, I guess they came in from the Caribbean and stayed on the coasts of Latin America, and then inland. We speak Spanish. On the coast, they'll speak English, or they come up with a patois of English and Spanish and a little French and they'll throw all of this stuff in. And this dish is very much like that. I want to go pretty quickly and we'll talk about the ingredients as we go, because I want to try to get this done so y'all can see the final dish. Right now, I'm just frying the fish a little bit just to get a little pre-cooking on it, and then we're going to start the base for the soup. As in most things that we do in, you know, the Caribbean, even in Louisiana, we start with a sofrito, or the base, the Trinity, we call it in Louisiana. But it's, you know, the base of the soup, which is the vegetables. We want to take those onions, peppers. We'll take a little bit of garlic. Garlic's always important, but not too much. And we toast that a little bit. We sweat down our sofrito to get that, you know, you really don't want to caramelize it. What you want to do is you want to get it soft and sweat it and develop those flavors. Obviously, we're going pretty quick here, but you want to let this cook a good 10, 15 minutes. Get it nice and soft, because it's gonna add some sweetness. It's gonna take the strength or the pungency away from the onions. So that's kind of, there's your Latin influence, and then this dish gets a little bit of allspice, and you get that also from the West Indies. The influence of the spice traders, and some yellow curry. They love the yellow curry in this soup. There's a little turmeric in there, and cumin, and other spices, and that's going to be your base for the soup. So we're cooking that down, and then we're going to use, the ingredients of the Caribbean. We have some lobsters that we've already pre-poached. You can roast them, you can poach them, you can use them as a base. Typically, they would make this all in one pot. I mean, we're going, obviously, from a demo standpoint.
Aromatic mixture, chef.
Yes, I mean, you can smell the curry. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to throw a little ginger in there. That's just gonna, it's a beautiful base for a very aromatic soup. The fish we sauteed, we're just gonna let it sit there a little bit. We're gonna turn our fire up, which is it already is. We're gonna add some whatever tubers we have. You're gonna see a lot of yuca, taro root, and there's different names for it. Otoe, nyame. We're gonna throw some plantains, and they can be green or they can be ripe. These are a little bit ripe, so it's gonna add a little sweetness to it. All of these root vegetables, which we'll come back to, are very starchy, and they're gonna thicken the soup up too. So it's gonna stretch it too. It's gonna make it very inexpensive to reproduce. So you're gonna put a lot of these, and the more people that show up, the more root vegetables you throw in, because there's only a certain amount of fish and lobster. So, and then you add more water, and then you add more. So that's very important. You got to count how many people, and then as they come, you add more vegetables to it. So one of the vegetables that we added, and Chef talked about it earlier, the mandioca or the cassava root is a yuca. We did a little seminar on yuca yesterday. This is something that shows up continually, especially in the tropical areas of Latin America. It's a root. It's very starchy. It's like a potato, but it's even starchier. We use it as for desserts. We use it for entrees. We use it for appetizers. We use it in our soups. It thickens everything, and it's pretty neutral flavor. It picks up any flavor that you add to it, and so that's going in there. We're going to add a little bit of water in here to get this going, and we can still use the water from the roots, which is going to give it that little bit of extra starch. Right. And then we also added some plantain. So plantain can come in various forms. It can go all the way from bright green to black. This is kind of in the middle. We call it pintón. It's painted. It's just a painted. They're very easy to peel once they ripen. You can just peel them away like this, like a banana, and it's simple. What happens is when it's green, it's really starchy, and then as it ripens, it becomes sugar. So that sugar turns into that starch turns into sugar, like a potato. If you take a potato, you leave, it's going to turn to sugar. You go make French fries, and they're no good because all of that starch turns to sugar. With this, it's the same thing, but we use it in every form available. When it's like this, we can roast them whole. You can slice them, fry them, and they'll be sweeter. And then as they turn black, they get real sweet. We still serve it as an entree, as a savory dish, but we eat it as a counterpoint to our salty food. So this starts cooking. You get a little boiling going on. Now we take some coconut milk. Basically they burn the coconut shells, break out the coconut out the middle, pop it in a blender if you have one, with hot water, and then you extract all the milk from it, and you get that thick cream. And that's kind of almost the mouthfeel dairy component of the dish, which you're not going to find on the Caribbean. There's not going to be a bunch of milk, right? There's no cows running around the beaches in the Caribbean. So you want that. We all look for the same thing, that richness, that mouthfeel, that is what is coconut milk. We use it for so many things also. So it's not a lot different from cooking Western French based or European cuisine. you're looking for the elements of the cooking of the sofrito to lend some complexity and some texture. And then the root vegetables, they're not potatoes and turnips and rutabagas. They're, yuca, sweet potatoes, and plantains. So we throw our fish back in there. This dish, probably, I have 12 minutes. It probably takes about 20 minutes to make. It's not that difficult. We would take our lobster. We pretty much just want to crack them, get them in there. Maybe we split our tail. We get it in there also. So we have the curry. We got the spices in there. I mean, the ginger, the garlic. And then we'll add just a couple of sprigs of thyme to give it that, the West Indian kind of that thyme. They love using the thyme on the coast. It gives the curry that herbal flavor. And then, as anywhere in Panama, when you're cooking stuff, man, you give it a little cilantro. And I like to do that at the end also because, as our Ecuadorian chef was saying, you want to go right at the end because it's a volatile perfume. Cilantro is something that kind of is a fleeting flavor. Obviously, we want to season it, and then so here we are. We're building this soup. All our seafood's cooking in there. Our tubers are getting tender.
It's a lot of flavors, a lot of layers of flavor
Right,
too, and great texture.
And the smell's amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then what we'll do is we call it ají chombo in Panama, but the habanero pepper, and we use it in so many forms. We'll make hot sauces with it. We'll put it in our ceviches. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a little hole in it, and I'm going to put it in whole, and that's going to give it the perfume. It's going to, the habanero has, or the Scotch bonnet, or the different incarnations of this pepper, has a fruity kind of flavor. I was tasting the peppers that you had on here because I'd never had it, the different malaguetas.
Yeah.
Amazing, fruitiness.
Yeah.
It was spicy,
But
I think
very floral, right?
Yeah, very floral. Those little malaguetas were amazing. And we're doing the same thing, like I remember my grandmother cooking rice in Panama, and she would bring it up to a simmer. When the rice starts drying up, she'd take one habanero pepper, put it in the center, cover it, and then just let it cook. And man, when you uncover that rice, you get the smell of the habanero, and it's not spicy. So it was perfect, and I love doing that because it reminds me of my grandmother, but it also gives the flavor of the habanero into the soup without giving you a bunch of
that smell of
heat.
home, chef.
Yeah, you like that?
Right?
All right, cool. So I think that's pretty much it. I mean,
That's
now
it.
let's go ahead and see what this is going to look like in a bowl. I know I had
a beautiful bowl right
I had
there.
a spatula. Now of course I would let this cook probably another 6 or 8 minutes. And then
But you can see the texture of the juice without the starches and even the water that retains some of the
Right.
starch of the root.
and it's already
becomes
starting
a
to
nice
thicken
and
up.
glazy.
Yeah, it's already starting to thicken up.
Yeah.
Obviously we have to taste it.
It's beautiful looking glaze.
I just taste it out of. I think I tasted out of just the habit of tasting. But you know what? It's perfect. It
There we go.
it doesn't need to get tasted.
There we go.
We'll.
I'm with you.
But
on
you
this
always
one,
taste.
man.
Always taste. Yeah. No matter how good you think it's going to be. So then we get a nice amount of them tubers in there. We come in and
There we go.
get our seafood. Everybody wants to see that lobster on there on the top. A little bit of the whitefish, which ended up being corvino, which is a fish that we use a lot in Latin America.
Gorgeous.
A little bit of the peppers. Then we come in with a little bit more cilantro just for that finishing perfume touch. So I like to just chiffonade it. Down, no tweezers, nothing. Just my hands, I'm sorry.
There we go.
I'm old school. I'm the old guy.
There we go.
And then we got
There we go.
our rum-done soup. Thank you.
I like that. I
right,
appreciate you mentioned that.
Thank you,
Chef,
Chef.
thanks so much. Folks, thanks so much. Have a nice morning. And
Thank you, Almir Da Fonseca,
Thank you.
Norman Brandt, Adolfo Garcia, and I want to plug that Adolfo's son is also a CIA graduate. He's a 2015 CIA graduate, so we're very happy to have 2 generations of Garcias with us. So thank you, Adolfo. And now to introduce the next session, it's my pleasure to welcome Greg Drescher back to the podium.
Thanks, Anne. And as we make our transition to Mexico for our next session, Anne mentioned that you may, when you came in, you may have found yourself sitting on a luggage tag. Encourage you to pick up the luggage tag, have a look at it. For those of you that have been part of the Worlds of Flavor family for many years, you know that we've had a great partnership that I'll mention here in a second that has allowed us to go far afield and capture the gold standards of world cuisines all over the world. This luggage tag is an introduction to our World Culinary Arts Mexico City edition, which is the 11th edition of the video documentary series sponsored by Unilever Food Solutions that has won 2 James Beard Awards and explores, as I said, the best in food and cooking around the world. On the back of the tag, if you scan the QR code with your phone, it takes you to the website where you can watch the new Mexico City video series, download recipes, and see Unilever chef Steve Gillibo demonstrate Mexico City inspired recipes for American menus, and we hope it'll be not only an inspiration for you, but helpful in training your staff and your colleagues in your organization. So we have a little sneak preview for you. So let's watch the introduction to World Culinary Arts Mexico City.
When you come to Mexico, you always have to look for tradition. We have a really big culture when it comes to food in Mexico. You always have to go, yes, to some street quesadillas or tacos or whatever. There's a lot of really good restaurants where they focus on traditional Mexican.
The wonderful thing is that you can go from street foods and tacos to fine dining, white tablecloth restaurants. There are so many different innovative styles that are happening right at this moment, and our chefs are becoming known worldwide.
You can go in a market and you can find a lot of different types of cuisine of all the country, you know.
Come and taste the food and be adventurous. It's a food made with a lot of passion. It's a food made with soul.
I like to tell stories in my dishes and in my restaurants. We want food that is memorable, that you can take with you, that is creative.
It's Mexican cuisine. I don't want to say it's contemporary because it's not. We actually are using some of the techniques and ingredients that the people here in Mexico use since forever.
We try to make all the things that is really custom for our culture, making in chocolate.
I'm Mexican cook with Mexican ingredients, means Mexican food.
Mexico City, it's, for me, one of the 5 more important food capitals in the world.
I haven't found a place in the world, maybe Vietnam, that you can eat like in Mexico.
Come to Mexico City, you can get everything from everywhere at all times, right? That's what made Mexico City what it's today.
You know, you can have good food wherever you go here in Mexico. You can have good food in markets, in street food. It's amazing.
So now that we've had a little visual introduction to Mexican food culture, it's a great pleasure to introduce my colleague, Sergio Remolina, who's the Director of Latin Studies at the Culinary Institute of America, San Antonio. Between 2008 and 2013, he was the assistant professor at the CIA's main campus in Hyde Park. He was the opening chef of the Bocuse restaurant there. He received a degree in hotel and restaurant administration from the Universidad Iberoamericana in Mexico City and a diploma in cuisine and patisserie from Le Cordon Bleu in Paris. His extensive career includes working for a number of top restaurants in Paris and Mexico City, being one of the founders of the Diplomado, which is the graduate-level degree program in Mexican cuisine at Centro Culinario Ambrosia in Mexico City, where he was a subdirector. Sergio dedicates part of his time to the study of Mexican cookery, also hosts his own show on Canal Gourmet, the most important food channel in Latin America. Please welcome Sergio Remolina.
Good morning, buenos dias. Hola. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Welcome. And today I want to introduce our first presenter. He's Pablo Salas, a former student from Ambrosia. So it's a chef that I feel very, very proud of having him with us here. Very talented. He comes from Toluca, which is the capital of the Estado de Mexico, 45 minutes west from Mexico City, where I'm from, born and raised in Mexico City. And today we're gonna touch a little bit that great biodiversity that we have in Mexico, that richness, and that's the foundation of our cuisine, right? So I want to welcome Pablo and let him talk to us a little bit more about his project, what he does, and his philosophy. Hello, please.
Hello, my name is Pablo Salas. I'm a head cook in Amaranta. First, I want to thank to the CIA for the invitation. For me, it's an honor to be here. I'm really glad to be here. And I'm going to talk about my restaurant and what we do and our philosophy. And then if we have time, we're going to do a play. You can see, well, okay, Amaranta is a modern Mexican restaurant. First, I'm going to start talking about my hometown. I come from the state of Mexico. The state of Mexico surrounds Ciudad de Mexico, Distrito Federal. So we have a lot of, it's a big state. We're 16 million people. And like you can see, in the middle is Ciudad de Mexico. So we have a lot of influence from some other states because it's an internal migration path. A lot of people want to go to work to the Ciudad de Mexico, so they have to pass state of Mexico, and sometimes they stay there, sometimes with ingredients, sometimes with recipes, sometimes they do restaurants, small restaurants. They live there in the state of Mexico. So we have a lot of influence from the state of Michoacán, Guerrero, Hidalgo, Puebla. So we have a lot of influences in our cuisine. Our biodiversity is most with pine, oak, oyamel. We have 3 volcanoes. We have 3 rivers. And this ecosystem makes the state of Mexico a producer of mushrooms, quelites, leaf vegetables that we eat in tacos, berries, rabbits, deer, insects. And in Amaranta, what we do is modern cuisine from the state of Mexico. And we put this that we have a 5-level specialty, and we're going to start talking about that. First, respect from Mexican traditional cuisine. Always a rich source, techniques, customs, ingredients. So We use that as a base. We think like the modern is not fighting with the traditional, and I think it's the opposite way. They support each other, and first you have to need the traditional to do a modern cuisine. Here we have some head cheese with la coche, carp, y acosiles is crawfish, I think. The second one, work with local food as a base. If you work with local food as a base, you get a lot of advantages. You get fresh ingredients. The ingredient doesn't travel. You help producers, and you get to your clients a best quality of product. Here's some. I am in the market. La señora is making tortillas and blue corn on the top, bottom. This part is really important for us. All the products have the same gastronomic value, not regardless price, no economy value, but gastronomic value. Like we can have maybe a carrot, and you can do a great dish with a carrot in the right hands. Maybe you can have a foie gras that's more expensive than a carrot in the wrong hands. You're gonna mess it up, and you won't have a nice dish. And I say you can have a better dish of carrot instead of the foie gras if you don't cook it the right way. Sorry, I forget a little word. Then, so we work with all that. That's part of our philosophy. That's tongue, lungs, oxtail, sweetbreads, spinal cord. We work with all that, and people really like it. Because for me, it's like more difficult to get a nice plate out of this product. You need to be more precise in times. You need to be really careful when you buy it. You need to clean it really, really good. So in some of these dishes, you do 2 or 3 different tipos de cocimiento.
3 techniques, cooking techniques. You apply more than
Yeah, 3
one.
different techniques of cooking. Maybe you first boil it. After you boil it, when we do tripe, we boil it. After we boil it, we cut it in pieces. After we cut it, we confit in their own grease until it's really crispy. So you have to do more techniques. You have to know a lot about the product. And for me, it's more difficult to maybe to do a wagyu or a dryish beef. You just put it, I think so, maybe in the grill, and if you miss it, maybe you can not get the right term, and I think that's it. But if you do something wrong with these products, awful that we work with that, maybe you can get sick somebody. We have spinal cord soup with jitomate, with caldillo de jitomate, a broth of jitomate, oxtail, sweetbreads with a demi of cilantro and jalapeno. Then we choose contemporary approach by the ceramic, by the ambience, by the ingredients, by the techniques, and by our philosophy of cuisine. There's the restaurant. We have a roof garden, and there are tables. It's a small restaurant with 50 seats. And we like to do this with the dynamic conversation. What we do last year, in 2013 and 2014, we focused on pork. And we start to doing dishes from nose to tail with the pork. And we found really this locally heirloom pork, and we start working with that. And we use all this head cheese. We boil the head, and when they shred it, and then compress it. We have pork jowl, we have pig trotters, blood sausage, tail, and rinsed chicharrón. That's one of my plates. That's carpaccio pig trotters, or pig trotter carpaccio. We boil the pig feet, then we shred, we compress it, freeze it for 12 hours, and then we slice. That's the blood sausage with spearmint vinegar and potatoes, and that's the way we eat it. We don't invent anything, but they put like maybe the spearmint, like just chop it. We make here a vinegar. We have the potatoes and just a beet sprout. That's the pork jowl with a little bit of sweet potato puree. We smoke it, sweet potato smoked it. Some ashes of onions, radish, and some sprout. And then this year, since last year, we start working with this freshwater menu. So we start to doing that, and we found a lot of products. Like I said, we don't like to force the product to travel. We like fresh. So I decided not to serve any more seafood in my restaurant. So we start working with these freshwater products. Here we have some. We use the salmon trout, we use the frog, we use the crawfish, carp roe, and charales minimum. Charal. Here we have a taco de huevo de carpa, a carp roe. That's carp roe taco with avocado, cilantro, and that's it. That's a tortita de rana, frog tortita, with salsa verde, jocoque on top, and a pea shoot. That's tiradito de salmón. It's fresh trout, but it has in the inside like a salmon. We just put it with some chicharrón, pickled vegetables, onions, avocado also, and that's why we think that every ingredient must fit in a fine dining restaurant, because you have to treat it like the right way. Like I said, it doesn't depend for the economic price. I think like every ingredient is great. So we just have to do a great job, treat it with respect, and that's what we do in Amaranta. I'm going to start to plate in my plate. We're going to do a pork jowl. Okay, perfect. We're going to do a pork jowl. Plato, algo así se puede. With the puree of sweet potato. Where's the puree? El puré de camote. Okay. So we have here. We say like we cook like really easy. We just like to do the right treat to each ingredient. This is sweet potato. We smoke it. Then we have some pork jowl here. We braise it.
So Toluca is a city that it's around 8,000 feet over the sea level. So it's pines, cold weather, rainy days. There's a lot of trout. There's a lot of vegetables, right?
Right.
And it's an area that is very green as the cuisine, right? It's a very grassy cuisine. The sauces are made of a lot of herbs. It's a cuisine that I think that it's defined by its simplicity, and this type of meats, the less expensive cuts, is what people really consume. It's big. Toluca is famous for the chorizo, right? The green chorizo and the red chorizo.
Right.
And I think that the message of Pablo of using this type of ingredients, local, sustainable, and making a cuisine from what it's available. As a cooks, I think that's the really challenge, right? To make a cuisine with a lot of soul and a lot of flavor. And Pablo, I think that he does it very, very well.
Thank you, thank you. I'm gonna finish.
I want him to invite me to the restaurant.
It's pipián verde. It's a sauce. Pipián verde is made of pumpkin seeds, peanuts, sesame seeds. Also, we put poblano, jalapeno, tomate, onion, garlic. So it's a really like traditional sauce like the moles. We have two different types of pipianes. I like to work with both, but today we did with the pork. I think the green one for the acidity it's better. So I put here just the pipián. This is red cabbage pickle.
Pickle, yeah.
Pickle. And this is onion, ashes of onion. In Mexico, for us, it's a technique to burn some stuff. We do some salsas like burn it, but it's a technique for us that I really love because it comes a lot of flavor out of that. And then I'm gonna finish just with cilantro and beets. So here's my
That was
plate.
a fast demo, right? Excellent.
So I think I'm done with this. Or
Thank you very much. Our next presenter comes from the state of Tabasco. Villahermosa is the capital, and this is a region that it's the manglar, the swamp. Okay, very humid. Is the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, and I'm very proud as well to introduce Gabi Ruiz, right, who came to visit us, and thank you. So I'm gonna let Gabi talk about again her restaurant, philosophy, the region, and a little bit of all the hard work that she's doing to promote the local producers and the local cuisine.
Thank you. Have you ever wondered yourself how grain tastes like? Well, this part of the country I come from, it is called Tabasco. We know how grain tastes like. Here's something I want you to see. Thanks. Well, thank you. Thanks. I come from Tabasco. It's in the southeast of Mexico. And, well, it is not because I was born there, but we have one of the most amazing lands in Mexico. Why I'm telling you this? Because the climate, it's correct? Weather? Climate? Yeah. It's very hot as hell. We can go, I promise. There is some, we call the green hell. Tabasco is the green hell. But it's a heaven for cook and for chefs because we have everything we want in the land. There is something that says that the only thing we don't have, is what we don't plant. So it's a very rich land. And there is something that really represents the gastronomy called verde, that means green. Verde, it's this sauce made with leaves, only green leaves, and you thick the sauce with plantain, green plantain, or yuca, or some malanga that we call, you call malanga. Malanga is malanga, okay. So every time I wanted to cook my dish in another city in Mexico, it would be a very hard thing to do. It was a problem because all the leaves that we use for that dish, you can get them in my city only, and also Chiapas and some states of the southeast. So every time I would do that, I would be with my baggage this big and carry on all the leaves. And once I tried to take them to Germany, and I was shaking because on the plane they said, if you have some meat or plants or some stuff, you can get in trouble. So I was like, oh my God, please, please, please. So I was thinking in my mind, I'm a very dangerous traffickant or something because in my luggage I'm always with chili peppers, with everything I can have to make my food in other cities. So even in Mexico, it is hard to get them. So this gastronomy is one of the most exotic and also one of the most unknown. So I'm going to start to explain what I was working with. Once my dad told me this advice that I want to share with you. He said, to be a successful person, you gotta be friend of the most talented people. So I always keep remember his advice. And the person I work with to this has this gastronomic center innovation. What he does in that center is to make methods for you as a cook to have your Mexican food all over the world. So we did this investigation with two guys, Eduardo Plasencia y Ramon Torres. They are in Mexico, but they are part of this. So the first thing I would like to start, it's the structure of Verde Tabasqueño. Why we did that? Because otherwise, in this dish, Verde, wouldn't be known in any places because it's only my city. So we were wondering, what can we do to take this dish all over the world? So we worked in this method. We changed the leaves. First, we analyzed them and see the aromas, and found another leaves in the world that has some of the aromas and change them so we can make verdes all over the world. So we can start here. For making a verde, we need color and flavor. So we have the leaves. It's chipilín, chaya, momo, hoja de chile. Those 4 we need for making verde. Thickening agent, green banana, and a tuber, and corn. 3 of them. Can be any of them. Completes that it's onion, garlic, sweet chili, and white chili. And animal protein can be those. We use in my city some turtle. It is provided, but if you buy it in the correct place where you can buy it, it's fine. So here's how it looks. You saw it in the video, but that's the graphic. You need 80% liquid, 10% chlorophylls. I was talking about 4 leaves, those leaves, 8 natural thickening agent, and 2 complements. So here's the point. 65% of neutral flavor and aroma. That's the chaya. That thing does the chaya for the verde. The next one, 20% of medium aromatic notes. That's the chipilín, another leaf. Medium aromatic and low notes, it's the hoja de chile amash, that it's leaf that comes from a chile. High aromatic notes, and it has some anise flavor, that leaf, hoja santa. So we change chaya. Instead of chaya, we can use spinach, French lettuce, or borage. Instead of hoja de chile amash, we can use arugula, endive, chard, watercress, bok choy, dandelion, mustard leaves. Why? Because they have like a spicy taste or bitter taste, so it's good to have that in our sauce. That hoja de chile, has this bitter and spicy flavor, so arugula does it, and kale have it, and endives have it, so we can change it. Chipilín, that has a medium aromatic note, we can change it instead, and we can use coriander. I'm sorry, it's not coriander, it's cilantro. Coriander is the seed. Parsley, basil, peppermint, and verbena. Hoja santa, that we can change for dill, tarragon, and anise. And here's the formula. We need chlorophyll, thickening agent, the complements, the liquid. We have to ground it, boiling, and we have verde. So that's the verde that I made. I call them, it can be traditional, of course, because the traditional is the one I already showed. But I call this one Verde Napa Valley, because I'm doing it here, and I use the ingredients of the list they told me. You have a spinach, and you have dill, and you have more other ingredients, so I changed the leaves for that. So for chaya, I use spinach. For hoja santa, because of that anise taste, I use dill. If you imagine dill, you can have in your mouth right now this touch of anise. Then arugula, because it has that spice taste and bitter, and cilantro instead of chipilín, because it's aromatic, not too much, but very aromatic. So that's it for the presentation. I'm gonna cook it just to. No me va a dar tiempo, sí me da tiempo. Rápido. I think Pablito took did you have the other one? Okay, here I have the green. It is already done. What I did just to blanch the leaves and put it in you can use the blender. Here in that school they have everything, so I use the Thermomix, that it's a wonderful thing to use. Then I put some broth and mix it and start to thicken it with this yuca, so you have verde. You can have verde whenever you want, any places. Where's mi plato? Gracias. Okay. Tengo un minuto, lo voy a montar. Oh, sorry, I have a minute.
So I think that as well, this is very interesting, right? How can we adapt traditional dishes looking for the right substitutes. So this analysis is about finding the flavor profile on herbs or other ingredients in order to come up with and keep that authentic flavor. It's some of the new things chefs are doing, right? When I'm old school, so we didn't get there, right? 20 years ago, we didn't used to do that deep research. If things were not available, we just didn't cook that dish. So things are changing, and I think that this it's a way to make the our food to travel around the world, to expand, and to give people this experience.
Thanks. Ya voy.
No problem.
Ya, Sergio, ya lo tengo.
She's great, right?
I have five. I put some corn that I cooked as a risotto, and this apple jelly that I have right here. So make it like to have a contrast. Sorry, I have to put it like this because of the time, but there you go. And some of the greens I already used. I'm ready, Sergio. Don't get mad at me.
No.
So, this is it.
Beautiful.
Thanks. Thank you. I hope you like it and go to Tabasco one day. Thanks.
Great. So, last week we had some time and we didn't know what to do with the time. So we put this last presenter in. And so I want to introduce you Eric Werner. He's coming.
Oh, my hat's up here. Okay.
Very excited. Welcome, Chef.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Eric comes from Tulum, which is the jungle. Now we're going all the way to the jungle, to the Yucatan Peninsula.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chef. It's a real honor to be here today, especially with so many great Mexican chefs, and to be asked to do this. My apologies, I don't have any slides with me today, but I can kind of give you a descriptive of where the restaurant is. It's about 2.5 hours south of Cancun, right along the Caribbean Sea. The name of the restaurant is Heartwood, and it's in Tulum, Mexico. My wife and I moved down to Tulum about 7-8 years ago. The restaurant's been up and running for about 7 years. We're running close to 100% sustainable. We are off the grid. We produce all of our energy by solar panels, which go into the battery bank, and then that gets recharged later in the night for our electricity within the restaurant. All of our water gets brought in from town. Okay, so we're storing this water and we're breaking down all of our own waste on premise. Okay, that goes to compost, that goes to water, and we're up to producing 96% clean fertilized water that goes and regenerates the mangroves around us. The restaurant is quite small. It's about 50 meters by 100 meters. We have altogether, staff within the restaurant about 25 to 30. They're attached to the restaurant is a 50-hectare farm, which is about an hour and a half away. Everything that we get for the restaurant is 100% organic. All of the fish that we catch for the restaurant, being that the restaurant is primarily seafood-based, is directly from the Caribbean and is caught by either spearfishing or single line. So all of this coming together this gigantic family that the restaurant has kind of embraced within Mexico has given us all an education on not only a style of cooking that's been developed, being that we cook everything on open fire. A single oven and a grill is what we get through service during the night. So everything is prepared for the evening alone. We have 12 coolers that we keep all of our fish into. We get about 130 kilos of fish a day to go through service. All of that must get broken down and stored, correctly. We have 2 small solar refrigerators that we're keeping our greens in for the night. So we're really just cooking for the evening service. The oven keeps going throughout the night, and the camote that we're going to be doing is one of these dishes that I was inspired by going to all these different markets within the Yucatan. A lot of exploration, a lot of discovery had to happen. There was, not many tourists down there at the time, not a lot of people kind of exploring, doing different things. So it was more of a lot of purveying was happening. And I was spending a lot of time in the first development years of the restaurant and going to these markets. And besides seeing a lot of tacos and a lot of different types of foods at the market, I started seeing things that were made at home by some of these women that were selling different types of camotes. And this is the camote amarillo, this is the camote blanco, and the camote rosado. So it's the white, purple, and yellow camote. And the yellow camote was what I found to be the sweetest. And it was cooked within the fire that these ladies were making their tortillas for during the day, or maybe cooked in the pit also with the cochinita pibil, and it had this flavor to it that was kind of charred but sweet, and they were serving it whole with a little bit of honey on it, and that's when I became most interested within the melipona of the Yucatan and the many different types of honey that was being made within the Yucatan. And it was just incredible, the different flavors and the complexity. Then I started going into bee pollen. Then I started seeing what else would go with this camote, as opposed with the honey, the bee pollen, and chamomile. Then we started going to Chiapas a little bit, which is about 12 hours away, and started looking into cacao and toasting cacao, and then that became part of this dish. Now, mind you, this is just a side dish that we serve at the restaurant. So since we have no internet, we have no TV, we just have each other, so we really kind of went crazy into some of these dishes. But the layering that happened with just even a side dish, and what we started to find by going further into the honey culture was incredible, and it was just like something that really inspired me. So what we started doing, we started taking camotes that are about this size, okay, and we were putting them into a hotel pan. And in that hotel pan, I was putting a little bit of honey, a little bit of water, sugar cane, okay, and freshly dried chamomile. Right. I would be braising that in the oven overnight at about 200 degrees for about 6 hours, okay? So at the end of the morning, when I came back into work, I would have just a really nice, darkish liquid to it. And sometimes I'd put in canela as well. And that's a little bit different than cinnamon. It has kind of like more of a spicier, fruitier flavor to it. And that being reduced down overnight and having the camote absorb into the liquid, it produced a really nice sweet potato, okay? And I would take that, I would put it onto a sheet tray, let it set, and then I would take that braising liquid, hold on to it for service, and then in the cast irons they were working with within the oven during the night, I would take that cast iron very hot, put the camotes in it, open them up slightly, add about halfway of that braising liquid, a little bit of butter, again with the chamomile, a little bit of salt, and a little bit more honey, okay? And then I would put that into the oven and reduce that down. And it was almost as if I was making an instant caramel, okay? You're getting it to a point where it's kind of medium-sized, softball-sized bubbles, right? And then I'm just starting to bathe that. And then I would serve that as a side. And I'd serve that, I would dust that with pepitas, freshly toasted pepita, dusted cacao, manzanilla, and salt, okay? And that became one of our most notable side dishes within the restaurant. That's still on the menu. So after doing that for 7 years, and you're doing that nightly over and over and over and over again, it becomes something else. Just like everybody that has a restaurant and every chef that's here and that understands, by consistency and discipline and constantly sticking to this and working on it, You start with one thing, and it becomes so much more. So the idea started with a camote at a market cooked by the fire with a little bit of honey on it. And then it developed into something more. So I'm taking these ideas and these inspirations from the starters, from the founders of it, these Maya women from the market that I was so fortunate to be with and to talk to and to ask help from and understanding what they're doing, and they were teaching me and allowing me to develop some of these dishes. So, this dish is a homage to all the abuelas de Mundo Maya, and and that goes back to a lot of our dishes like that, I have a lot to be thankful for in the place that we're living in. It gives us great inspiration daily of everybody that's coming in. And just as we're getting excited as chefs in the kitchen, the farmers, the fishermen, people from the market are excited to see us when we go there. It's not because we're going and we're like, you have chayote, you have calabasa, I'm going to take 50 kilos of it. It's because we're engaging. We're starting a conversation with the community. We're not just buying and selling. We're asking questions humbly and trying to understand the explanation, trying to understand the verbiage, trying to understand the background of it, of what they're most proud of. And that is the true art, I think, of beginning a plate and the discovery of it. So, and Mexico is extremely, extremely rich with this. This is one country that is nothing like any other country within the world. I mean, the amount of heritage and the amount of gratitude and the amount of respect to tradition and where things come from and the understanding of it and the education of it is very, very rich. And, it's something quite amazing. So right now I'm going to begin to play to the... This is new to me, the gas setup here. So it lights by itself, so we're good. My spins here. All right. So we can see what's here right now. So again, what I have in front of me is the ground pepita and a couple whole pepita. This is the ground toasted cacao. All right. This is a little bit of butter. This is a little bit of dried chamomile. Okay. This is a little bit of honey. Right. I have some cilantro flowers, some narcissa, nostria. I can't even say that word. Nasturtium flowers. But somebody gave that to me today, and they look really pretty, and I thought the yellow with the camote. And bee pollen, okay? And, of course, a little bit of salt, all right? And what I'm doing now it's at the caramelization state, right? So the sauce is a little bit thick, okay? And this is, again, just the original braising liquid, okay? The camote, a little bit of the chamomile, all right? And some butter and honey. Okay, and that's it. I just reduced that down. Very simple. What I'm doing is I'm just tipping the pan, just basting, and the smell of this really gives this away. Okay? Just like tasting with anything in cooking, it really comes down to the smell a lot. And you can kind of tell when something's there just by the smell alone. I'm going to wait till this bubbles up a little bit. Maybe I'll add in just a little bit of this butter, just to deglaze slightly. And this isn't a very butter-heavy dish. It's not very rich, okay? But it's just rich enough. And especially by adding some of that fresh canela in, it kind of gives it a little bit of a fruitier taste to it. That's it. Fire's off. Okay. Sometimes this is just the best part. Okay. And I just take that and I just kind of take a little bit of this honey. Kind of just run this around the plate. And again, this is a side. I mean, our food can be spicy, okay? So if you're eating something as a main and as an entree and it's spicy, and then you pair this up with something spicy, you have a balance now, okay? So now the person isn't dying with that heat, okay, that you really want to work with. It gives you room, it gives you flexibility, okay? So the person, so that heat that you want to play with and the heat that you want to use, you can use it, okay? But then you come right behind it with this camote, and that kind of balances it through, right? Especially if you do that hand jet, like balance it through. And then I just dust it with some of this pepita right over top for a little bit of the crunch and a little bit of that toasted taste to it, okay? Some of the cacao to make that flavor just a little bit deeper, okay? And then some bee pollen, different things. Okay. Some salt, because with caramel and salt, as we all know, that allows that kind of caramel taste to pop through, is that salt, right? Okay. And then I'm going to use a little bit of these cilantro flowers, actually, because I think that this is kind of just a little bit nicer here. Okay. Maybe just a little bit more heat on the outside here, okay? And that is it. Right, guys? So, buen provecho.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you very much, guys.
It's always very inspiring to see how we, as Mexicans, we forget sometimes how rich and how much we have in our hands. And it's really inspired. I've been always very inspired by looking how others look at our culture, at our food, and this is, I think that this is amazing. So I want to thank you, and I'm going to turn the microphone to Anne McBride. Thank you, Anne, for the invitation, and thank you all for being here with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. This was really, really terrific, and just, so, I think, a new and fresh way with all these three presenters to look at Mexican food, and just so inspiring. My husband and I always joke that we want to ditch everything and go sell tacos in Tulum, and Eric has done that, so there's a little bit of aspiration coming there. And obviously he works very hard, but there's something really wonderful about that life, and all of them. So we are now, before you get up, let me give you your room assignments for the breakout sessions. If you're in the kitchen workshops, please stay in the back. Just a note, for one kitchen workshop, the live fire session will actually be taking place in here. So if you were supposed to go outside, you can stay here. We will, with Tanya Holland, we will have the session right here because of the weather. If you are in seminar 21 at Williams Center, outside, bottom right of the driveway. If you're in seminars 22 or 23, you're in the red center on the left, outside on the left. If you're in Ecolab or Debon, it's on the first floor. And then I will call in a little bit after all of you who need to exit this floor. I will call the kitchen workshops. Thank you. And then be back here.